His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa received U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who is currently visiting Bahrain. His Majesty welcomed the U.S. Secretary and his accompanying delegation on their visit to the kingdom. Secretary Rubio expressed his pleasure for visiting Bahrain and meeting His Majesty. The meeting reviewed the ties between the two countries and means to further strengthen and develop them across various domains. It also underscored the importance of continuing to enhance cooperation, coordination and joint action, mainly at the economic and defense levels. The meeting also discussed regional and international developments and exchanged views on efforts to achieve security and stability. It further affirmed the importance of compliance with the Memorandum of Understanding, underscoring that it is a wise approach that prioritizes dialogue and diplomacy as a means of addressing regional issues and promoting international peace and security.
In a relationship that transcends politics and geography, the Kingdom of Bahrain and the United States of America continue to solidify one of the longest-standing partnerships in the region, which dates back to more than 130 years since the arrival of the first American medical and educational missions to the Kingdom of Bahrain. Decades of understanding have resulted in a diverse collaboration that included health, economy, education, and more recently space science. From the American Mission Hospital in Manama in 1903 to the launch of the first Bahraini satellite Al-Mundar from an American base in 2025. Reciprocal visits at the highest levels reflect the strength of this relationship, as exemplified by defense agreements such as the Defense Cooperation Agreement and the Comprehensive Security Integration and Prosperity Agreement CCPA, as a pillar of the U.S. strategic presence in the region as the Kingdom hosts the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet. Economically, the Kingdom of Bahrain was the first GCC country to sign a free trade agreement with Washington in 2006, which increased investment between the two sides and contributed to raising trade exchange to about $3 billion annually. In education, exchange programs and academic cooperation have flourished, while space cooperation today symbolizes an ambition that knows no limits. It is a partnership that is not limited to official meetings, but is built on the values of respect, trust, and integration, leading to a safer and more advanced world.
His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa received a cable of congratulations from the Minister of Prime Minister's Court and Chairman of the Supreme Committee of Rashid Equestrian and Horse Racing Club, His Highness Sheikh Isa bin Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, in which His Highness extended to His Majesty his congratulations and best wishes on the announcement by the Asian Racing Federation of the upgrade of the Bahrain International Trophy to Group 1 status. His Highness said that this distinguished achievement adds to the record of Bahrain's continued national successes made possible by the noble support, patronage and great attention bestowed by His Majesty the King on this long-standing sport. His Highness noted that this landmark achievement reflects the advanced standing that Bahrain now holds on the global horse racing map and confirms the success of the wise visions and directives of His Majesty the King in consolidating the kingdom's regional international presence and enhancing its competitiveness in hosting major international races and championships. His Highness expressed his pride in this national accomplishment and affirmed to His Majesty the continued commitment of the REHC to implementing development plans and programs aimed at further advancing equestrian sport and horse racing and boosting the standing of the championships and races hosted by Bahrain. His Highness prayed to Allah Almighty to preserve His Majesty the King as the leader of Bahrain and as a symbol of its pride and glory, and to grant him continued honor, support, pride and strength for the nation and all its citizens. His Majesty also sent a reply cable to His Highness Sheikh Isa bin Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa on the occasion of the Asian Racing Federation's announcement of the upgrade of the Bahrain International Trophy to Group 1 status on the international stage. In his cable, His Majesty expressed his deep pride in this distinguished achievement, which adds to Bahrain's continuing record of national successes in the field of equestrian sport and horse racing, affirming that this accomplishment reflects the attention and care given to this noble Arab sport. His Majesty congratulated His Highness Sheikh Isa bin Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa and all those working in this sector, praising their sincere efforts which contributed to this international achievement and which with help enhance Bahrain's standing in equestrian sport and horse racing at both regional and international levels. His Majesty prayed to Allah Almighty to grant everyone success in continuing to achieve further accomplishments and to preserve for Bahrain progress and prosperity. His Majesty the King's representative for Humanitarian Works and Youth Affairs and Chairman of Babco Energies, His Highness Sheikh Nasser bin Hamad Al Khalifa, met with U.S. Secretary of Energy Chris Wright in Washington, D.C. to advance strategic energy cooperation between Bahrain and the United States. The high-level meeting focused on strengthening bilateral collaboration across the energy sector, with particular emphasis on unlocking joint investment opportunities and accelerating innovation-led growth. Discussions highlighted Babco Energy's ongoing engagement with leading global partners to enhance energy security, attract strategic investments, and adopt future-ready technologies. Both sides reviewed the progress of key initiatives, including the evaluation and development of deep gas resources in the onshore Bahrain field, leveraging advanced US-based technologies, advancements in Bahrain's offshore 3D seismic program, as well as the ongoing progress of the Babco modernization project, with a focus on developing advanced refining technologies to optimize operational performance and drive greater efficiency. Opportunities to expand technology-driven ventures within the energy sector were also discussed to support the adoption of next-generation solutions, including innovative energy technologies currently under development. The discussions also addressed the importance of strengthening energy security and maintaining resilient energy systems amid evolving regional and global developments. His Highness emphasized the importance of the long-standing strategic relationship between Bahrain and the U.S. as a foundation for cooperation across key sectors, including energy, and reaffirmed that the strategic partnership between Bahrain and the U.S. remains a critical pillar in strengthening energy security and advancing a sustainable energy transition. His Highness underscored the importance of deepening collaboration to accelerate knowledge exchange and further reinforce Bahrain's position as a forward-looking partner in the global energy landscape. The meeting was attended by His Highness Sheikh Hamad bin Nasser bin Hamad Al Khalifa, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Nasser bin Hamad Al Khalifa, and Babco Energy's Group Chief Executive Officer Mark Thomas. The National Security Advisor and Commander of the Royal Guard, Lieutenant General His Highness Sheikh Nasser bin Hamad Al Khalifa, met with U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham during His Highness's visit to Washington, D.C. in the presence of His Highness Sheikh Hamad bin Nasser bin Hamad Al Khalifa, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Nasser bin Hamad Al Khalifa, and the accompanying delegation. His Highness reaffirmed the distinguished bilateral relations between Bahrain and the U.S., noting the ongoing exchange of visits and agreements across multiple sectors His Highness highlighted the Comprehensive Security Integration and Prosperity Agreement (CCPA) as an advanced framework for strategic cooperation between Bahrain and the U.S. and stressed its role in supporting joint coordination on matters of mutual interest. The meeting also covered a number of regional and international developments as well as ways to enhance channels of coordination between the two countries on topics of common interests, which bolsters bilateral cooperation, security and stability in the region and globally. The National Security Advisor and Royal Guard Commander, Lieutenant General His Highness Sheikh Nasser bin Hamad Al Khalifa, met with U.S. House of Representatives Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Brian Mast during His Highness's visit to Washington, D.C. The meeting was also attended by His Highness Sheikh Hamad bin Nasser bin Hamad Al Khalifa, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Nasser bin Hamad Al Khalifa, and the accompanying delegation. His Highness noted that the ties between Bahrain and the U.S. are witnessing continuous development based on solid foundations and of cooperation across various fields, adding that this reflects the strength of the strategic partnership between the two countries. His Highness also noted the importance of continuing efforts to advance bilateral relations. They reviewed a number of regional and international developments and discussed topics of mutual interest, in addition to exploring opportunities to enhance cooperation and coordination to achieve mutual interests and promote regional and international peace and security. The National Security Advisor and Royal Guard Commander, Lieutenant General His Highness Sheikh Nasser bin Hamad Al Khalifa, met with U.S. Senate member Senator Jackie Rosen. The meeting took place during His Highness's visit to Washington in the presence of His Highness Sheikh Hamad bin Nasser bin Hamad Al Khalifa, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Nasser bin Hamad Al Khalifa, and the accompanying delegation. During the meeting, His Highness noted that Bahraini-American relations are a shared priority and that there is a mutual commitment to developing them across various fields. His Highness noted that the Comprehensive Security Integration and Prosperity Agreement (CCPA) between Bahrain and the United States embodies the depth of the strategic partnership between the two countries, characterized by advanced levels of cooperation and coordination at all levels. A number of topics and issues of mutual interest were also reviewed, and ways to strengthen bilateral cooperation were discussed in a manner that serves mutual interests and supports efforts to consolidate regional and international security and peace. The National Security Advisor and Royal Guard Commander, Lieutenant General His Highness Sheikh Nasser bin Hamad Al Khalifa, met with member of the U.S. Senate, Senator Brian Schatz. The meeting took place during His Highness's visit to Washington, D.C. in the presence of His Highness Sheikh Hamad bin Nasser bin Hamad Al Khalifa, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Nasser bin Hamad Al Khalifa, and the accompanying delegation. During the meeting, His Highness noted the deep-rooted historical ties between Bahrain and the United States and the ongoing development of these relations at various levels, in light of the mutual commitment to strengthening the strategic partnership between the two countries. His Highness noted that the Comprehensive Security Integration and Prosperity Agreement (CCPA) has enhanced the frameworks for strategic cooperation between the two countries and contributed to opening up broader areas for integration and partnership. The two sides also reviewed aspects of bilateral cooperation and ways to develop them, as well as discussing a number of regional and international issues and matters of mutual concern. The GCC-US joint ministerial meeting was held in the presence of the foreign ministers of both sides. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Abdulatif bin Rashid Al Zayani, led the GCC side, while the US side was led by US Secretary of State Marco Rubio. GCC Secretary General Jassim Libdewi also participated in the meeting. At the beginning of the meeting, the Minister of Foreign Affairs delivered a speech in which he conveyed the greetings of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa and His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, along with their best wishes for the success of this meeting. Dr. Zayani said that Bahrain takes great pride in its deep partnership with the U.S. as embodied by the Comprehensive Security and Prosperity Integration Agreement (CCPA), which serves as a framework for cooperation in the fields of security, economy and technology, in addition to aspirations of expanding this partnership in a manner that serves the stability of the region and its energy security. The minister reaffirmed that the security of GCC GCC member states is indivisible and that any threat to the security of one of its member states is considered a threat to the security of the entire Council. He stated that this principle enshrined in the Joint Defence Agreement remains the cornerstone of GCC cooperation with their partners, foremost among them the United States of America.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Your Excellency, Secretary Rubio, Secretary of State of the United States of America, Your Highness, Your Excellencies, Ministers of Foreign Affairs of the Gulf Cooperation Council States, Your Excellency, the Secretary General of the GCC, distinguished guests, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. On behalf of the Gulf Cooperation Council, it is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency Secretary Rubio to the Kingdom of Bahrain. And I start by conveying the greetings of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, King of Bahrain, and of His Royal Highness Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, Crown Prince and Prime Minister, along with their wishes for a successful meeting. Secretary Rubio, this is a critical time for the region. The attacks against our countries tested us in ways we had hoped never to face. Yet, they also revealed the strength of and resilience of our societies and the effectiveness of our institutions and defense forces in protecting lives and preserving stability. While physical damage can be repaired, the impact extended beyond infrastructure. Our citizens endured uncertainty and disruption of the peace and security that defined our region. These experiences have only strengthened our resolve to ensure that such attacks are never normalized and to work with our partners to reinforce the foundations of enduring peace, security, and stability for future generations. It is in that spirit that we come to today's meeting. After the grave challenges we faced, today we see a glimmer of hope for our region and the welcome diplomatic efforts resulting in an end to hostilities with the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between the United States and Iran, supported by the mediation of Pakistan and Qatar, and the restoration of free and secure navigation through the Strait of Hormuz. In this regard, we welcome the announcement by Oman of a temporary maritime corridor for vessels wishing to transit through the strait. While this progress is encouraging, it is critically important that Iran fully adheres to its obligations, including under the MOU. Alongside preventing Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon and preserving freedom of navigation, lasting regional security requires a definitive end to missile and drone attacks, ceasing support for militias, and halting interference in the sovereignty of our states. It is equally important to ensure that the consequences of those attacks are addressed, consistent with United Nations Security Council Resolution 2817. Mr. Secretary, Your Highness, Excellencies, the Kingdom of Bahrain values the depth of its partnership with the United States, embedded in the Comprehensive Security Integration and Prosperity Agreement, CCPA, as a framework for cooperation in security, the economy, and technology. And we propose expanding the horizons of this partnership to serve the stability and energy security of our region. As we advance our partnership, we reaffirm a core GCC principle. Our security is indivisible, and a threat to one GCC state is a threat to all. This principle, enshrined in our joint defense agreement, remains the cornerstone of our cooperation with partners, foremost among them the United States. Our agenda today also addresses key regional priorities, including the unity, sovereignty, and stability of both Syria and Lebanon, and advancing peace in Gaza through the Board of Peace in support of a just and comprehensive peace. Dear colleagues, in advancing their strategic choice of peace and good neighborliness, the GCC states look toward a new chapter for our region founded on respect for sovereignty, international law, and the protection of international waterways, in partnership with the United States to advance peace, security, and prosperity for all peoples of the region. Secretary Rubio, I welcome you once again, and I look forward to our discussions on how together we can build a more secure, stable, and prosperous future for our region. Thank you.
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you for hosting me. Thank you for hosting this gathering. It's an important one. It's an important gathering of partners, allies, and friends whose friendship and alliance and cooperation among one another has been longstanding. As I look around the room, I see countries we've worked with very closely now for decades on a variety of issues, but all driven towards a common purpose, and that is the stability, the security, and the prosperity, not just of the region, but also of the United States and ultimately of other countries around the world. This alliance was put to the test based on recent events, and it has passed, meaning that the level of cooperation, the level of interaction, the level of friendship that existed among us during these trying times was put to the test, and it passed with flying colors. I have undertaken this trip here today, first and foremost, to express my gratitude and appreciation for all of the cooperation and all of the help that we were given and all the things we were able to do together. We now enter a new phase, and one that we hope will lead to peace. It's what we all desire. It's what we all desire is for this region to be a place where people are focused on making money, not bombs, not weapons, where they're focused on improving the economic lives of their people, not on how to attack other countries. This is what we want for the region. Frankly, this is what we want for the world. But we understand there are challenges to that. In that vein and in that context, the United States, with the help of some gathered around this table here today, are going to pursue the opportunity to enter into constructive dialogue and hopefully agreements with Iran. And we hope it leads to a very positive outcome. That is our hope. That is what we are open to. That's what we are prepared. Particularly if Iran makes the decision that instead of being a revolutionary movement that seeks to export its ideology into other countries, they're now interested in being a nation state that focuses on the well-being of their own people. If this is what they want for their future, the United States is prepared, alongside with all of you, to work to make that possible, despite our differences from the past. If they choose a different route, then of course this will not lead to a positive outcome. But let's be hopeful that it does, but also realistic. In that context, it's important to point to a couple of things that are a priority to us. For while we want a deal, we don't want a deal at any price. We want a deal that's good, we want a deal that's real, we want a deal that's verifiable, and we want a deal that's adhered to. And it is important that any agreements that are reached, both in the process of negotiation and in the aftermath, be adhered to and followed. But there are certain things that for us are important to point out now that will never be acceptable. The first is the Straits of Hormuz are international waters. International waterways do not belong to any nation state. This is a foundational principle in the world today, without which the world would be in total chaos. If in fact we accepted that you can charge money to use an international waterway because it happens to be near your territorial space, well then this would spread throughout the world like a contagion. If in fact there is now a straits that one country can, or two countries can, or any countries decide they want to charge money for its use, what is going to stop every country in the world near a waterway from imposing the same? And then we're going to have chaos. So that is unacceptable. You can call it a toll, you can call it a fee, Whatever you want to call it, it's a game of semantics. The reality of it is that no country on earth has a right to charge for the use of international waterways. And that will never be an acceptable condition of any deal. The president's been fundamentally clear about that. The second is that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, which is at the core purpose of why this all started in the first place. And so any deal that we enter into has to be one that guarantees that that's not the case, and that puts in place verifiable steps that can be taken. With these two things in mind, I just want to be clear, the United States remain open, and we want this to work, and we're prepared for it to work, and we're going to do everything we can do, and we're hopeful that it will work. And it will require the help and cooperation of every country represented here today to make sure that not only if a deal happens that it's a good one, but also that it is adhered to. And the message that I come with is that we want to ensure that in any decisions that are made throughout this negotiating process, the interests of our partners and our allies in the region are always taken into account. That there is no part of this deal that's undertaken that in any way undermines the security, the stability, or the prosperity of any of our partners in the Gulf region. And that is at the core of my visit here today, is to thank you for all the help you've given us. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for your cooperation. Thank you for this alliance, not just in the defense realm, but also in the economic realm, but also to reassure everyone publicly that the United States, while committed to this process, will make sure that none of the agreements that are made, none of the things that are agreed to will in any way be counter to the interest of any of the nations represented here today, because you are our partners and our allies, and we want that to continue, and partners and allies don't undermine one another. And so thank you for the opportunity to have this forum. I think we will have some very, you touched on a bunch of other topics that I'm sure we'll discuss as well, the progress in Syria, the talks between the Lebanese and Israeli governments that are ongoing even today in Washington, which we hope will reach some positive outcomes. There are many other things we can talk about in the economic realm as well, but I appreciate very much you extending me this opportunity to meet with all of you collectively and express the President of the United States' commitment to all of you, that we are open for peace, but a peace that is enduring, that is real, and that in no way undermines our security, our prosperity, or the security or prosperity of our friends and allies in the Gulf region. Thank you.
During the meeting, the parties discussed regional developments and the efforts being made by the U.S. administration to conclude negotiations with Iran. This is to ensure reaching a comprehensive peace agreement and implementation of the Memorandum of Understanding signed between the United States and Iran, leading to an end to military operations on all fronts, reopening the Strait of Hormuz to international navigation, and ensuring regional security and stability. Both sides stressed the need to maintain momentum and a unified stance as negotiations continue, with the aim of achieving a more lasting end to hostilities and realizing the shared goal of preventing Iran from developing or acquiring nuclear weapons in any form. The ministers also welcomed the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, affirming that free, unconditional and unrestricted freedom of navigation remains a fundamental element of regional and international security. Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Abdulatif bin Rashid al-Zayani met with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio during his visit to Bahrain to participate in the GCC-U.S. joint ministerial meeting. The two sides reviewed the long-standing ties between Bahrain and the U.S. and discussed means to further strengthen bilateral cooperation across areas of mutual interest under existing agreements, including the Comprehensive Security Integration and Prosperity Agreement, CCPA, in support of the shared interests of both countries and their people. They also exchange views on the latest regional developments and ongoing efforts to promote peace and stability in the region following the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between the U.S. and Iran and the launch of negotiations aimed at reaching a comprehensive agreement on outstanding issues. The meeting further addressed regional issues of mutual concern and their implications for regional security and stability. The meeting was attended by Director General of Bilateral Relations, Ambassador Sheikh Abdullah bin Ali Al Khalifa, Chief of the Coordination Follow-up Sector, Ambassador Saeed Abdel Khaliq Saeed, and Chief of the Americas Affairs Sector, Salman Hassan Al Jalahma. Qatar's Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani and his accompanying delegation had arrived in Bahrain to participate in the GCC-US joint ministerial meeting. Upon his arrival at Bahrain International Airport, the Qatari official was received by Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Abdul Latif bin Rashid Al Zayani, Qatar's ambassador to Bahrain Nasser bin Abdullah Al Nasser, and a number of officials from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The Saudi Minister of Foreign Affairs, His Highness Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud, and the accompanying delegation had arrived in Bahrain yesterday to take part in the GCC-US joint ministerial meeting. Upon his arrival at Bahrain International Airport, His Highness was received by Foreign Affairs Minister Dr. Abdul Latif bin Rashid Al Zayani, Saudi Ambassador to Bahrain Naif bin Bandar Al Sudairi, and a number of officials from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Kuwait's Minister of Foreign Affairs Sheikh Jaber Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah and his accompanying delegation had arrived in Bahrain to participate in the GCC-US joint ministerial meeting. Upon his arrival at Bahrain International Airport, the Kuwaiti official was received by the Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Abdul Latif bin Rashid Al Zayani, Kuwait's charge d'affaires to Bahrain Councillor Yusuf Abdul Qadir Al Banwan, and a number of officials from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Oman's Minister of Foreign Affairs Badr bin Hamad bin Hamoud Al Busaidi and his accompanying delegation had arrived in Bahrain to participate in the GCC-US joint ministerial meeting. Upon his arrival at Bahrain International Airport, the Omani official was received by the Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Abdul Latif bin Rashid Al Zayani, Oman's ambassador to Bahrain Faisal bin Harib bin Hamad Al Busaidi, and a number of officials from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and the accompanying delegation had arrived in Bahrain yesterday to take part in the GCC-US joint ministerial meeting. Upon his arrival at Bahrain International Airport, Rubio was received by Foreign Ministers Dr. Abdul Latif bin Rashid Al Zayani, U.S. Ambassador to Bahrain Stephanie Hallett, and a number of officials from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. UAE's Minister of State at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Lana Nusayba, and her accompanying delegation had arrived in Bahrain yesterday to take part in the GCC-US joint ministerial meeting. Upon her arrival at Bahrain International Airport, she was received by Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Abdul Latif bin Rashid Al Zayani, the UAE's Ambassador to Bahrain Fahd Mohammed Salim bin Kardous Al Amri, and a number of officials from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Over decades of strategic cooperation, Gulf-US relations have established themselves as one of the most significant international partnerships underpinned by stability, development, shared interests, and converging views on many issues across various fields. More in this report.
For many decades, Gulf-US relations have remained a cornerstone of the global geopolitical and economic balance, transcending the traditional diplomatic sphere in terms of their depth and influence, to evolve into an organic partnership with intertwined trajectories. On the political and diplomatic front, the current reality reflects intense engagement that goes beyond protocol-ary courtesies to high-level coordination in managing regional and international challenges with joint summits and regular extended meetings. These serve as vital platforms for reconciling viewpoints and discussing issues of the utmost importance, such as stability in the Middle East and the security of vital waterways, as well as pressing regional issues. As for security and defense, cooperation between the two sides goes beyond major arms deals, joint training programs, and counter-terrorism efforts, extending to a mutual military and strategic presence that safeguards their vital shared interests. In the economic and investment sphere, these relations represent a unique model of financial and commercial interdependence that casts a shadow over global markets, transforming the relationship into a major investment partnership in which Gulf sovereign wealth funds pump hundreds of billions of dollars into the U.S. economy, mainly in the infrastructure, property, and advanced technology sectors. These developments cannot be separated from the technological and knowledge-based sphere, which has now become pivotal in shaping the future between the two sides. Gulf states are seeking to benefit from the US's leading role in the fields of artificial intelligence, space exploration, renewable energy, and higher education by sending thousands of scholarship students and forging partnerships between universities and research centers. A comprehensive and interconnected analysis of all these dimensions confirms that Gulf-US relations are a long-standing vital partnership and a fundamental guarantee of regional and global security and stability.
Bahrain's delegation of the Parliamentary Division concluded its participation in the 20th session of the Conference of the Union of Councils of Member States of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation held in Baku, Azerbaijan. The head of Bahrain's Parliamentary Division delegation, MP Ahmed Al-Salloum, stressed the kingdom's commitment to supporting joint Islamic initiatives and boosting cooperation and coordination among the parliaments of member states to advance the causes of development, stability and prosperity. The delegation also participated in a number of meetings held on the sidelines of the conference, during which they discussed ways to enhance parliamentary cooperation, exchange expertise, and develop coordination mechanisms in regional and international forums.